How beautiful is this night that welcomes in our Shabbat. I was hoping we get to see a little bit more of the sunset, but I don't think so tonight. But we get to celebrate Drew's birthday. So Shabbat Shalom, we're going to start with those words, and then Mayafeh Hayom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. It's so nice to hear you do it again. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Mayafeh Hayom, Mayafeh Hayom. Shabbat, Shalom. Mayafeh Hayom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Let's do it once again. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Great to see all of you. I missed the memo. I guess this is my better side. Or probably Cantor Cates'. You get a better angle on Cantor Cates' maybe from over here. But I hope you guys are all comfortable. There's like a secret cabal happening here on the right side. Hello, Billy and Janet. Yeah, it's you. I'm looking. I'll give you huggies later. So great everybody could join us online or in person. We are just delighted to be together. This is just a beautiful night. And part of what we do when we celebrate Shabbat is we are meant to actually be just releasing and softening ourselves really down deep, even at the level of our heart. And we read in the Torah about Pharaoh's heart being hardened, that when he won't let the Israelites go, it is because he is hardening his heart. And then we also read that God also hardens Pharaoh's heart. And we know in our own lives, sometimes with our beloveds, that our hearts can get hard and we say things or do things that we regret later. And so we come into Shabbat, and one of the gifts of Shabbat is that we are invited to just cease and to not have to fix things, even our own imperfections. I know some people have them, some people don't. Billy used to have one, and then he fixed it. But most of us have imperfections, and it's just a time to let our heart soften. So I'm going to invite you. It's early on, but already I'm ready for something a little awkward. You could just put your hand on your heart. We don't have to say any pledge or anything, but just to really feel the warmth of your heart, the warmth of your body, to welcome in a little stillness of this Shabbat. And we are going to join together with a pure heart. You'll find the words on the goldenrod handout.
This is a psalm that we usually welcome in the new year, in the month of Elul. Create a pure heart in me and renew my soul within me. I'll sing it once and try it with me. It's pretty easy. Create a pure heart in me, Adonai. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Adonai. Create a pure heart in me. Try just that again with me. Create a pure heart in me, Adonai. Create a pure heart in me again. Create a pure heart in me, Adonai. Create a pure heart in me. Second part like this. And renew a true soul within me. And renew a true soul within. Now, so there's one really hard note in there. And renew a true soul within me. I think it's to wake up our soul. It's a little bit of a wake-up note. So try it with me. Here we go. And renew a true soul within me. And renew a true soul within. And renew a true soul within me. And renew a true soul within. Create a pure heart. Create a pure heart in me, Adonai. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Adonai. Create a pure heart in me. And renew a true soul within me. And renew a true soul within. And renew a true soul within me. And renew a true soul within.
We continue together on page 20 with Lecha Dodi, doing verses 1, 2, and then at the top of 21, verse 5, and at the bottom 9. We join together.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat, nekavela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat, nekavela. Shamor vezachor bedibur echad, Hishmianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, Shemul tiferet v'liti lecha Dodi. Come on, likrat kala, pene Shabbat, nekavela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat, nekavela. Likrat Shabbat, lechu v'nercha, ki hi mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sofa seba makshavatina lecha Dodi. Likrat kala, pene Shabbat, nekavela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat, nekavela.
Top of page 21.
Hitoreri, kivaorech, kumi ori, kadorri, kivor Adonai el na'ikni higla, lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat, nekavela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat, nekavela. We rise, we face the entrance and welcome that Shabbat bride as beautiful and as glorious as always. Each week we welcome her. Boi veshalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvsola, toch emunei hamsegula, boi chala, boi chala, lechadodi, zikrat kala, bene Shabbat, nekavela, lechadodi, zikrat kala, bene Shabbat, nekavela.
You can remain standing for the Barchu on page 28. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam vaed. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 la. On the bottom of page 31. I know that the tide is not an independent force, but merely the submission of the water to the movement of the moon in its orbit. And this orbit in its turn is subject to other orbits, which are far mightier than it. And so the whole universe is held fast in the clinging grip of strong hands. The forces of earth and sun, planets and comets and galaxies, blindly erupting forces ceaselessly stirring in ripples of silence to the very depth of black space. We continue together at the top of page 33. Please join me. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me? Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch kevod malchuto leolam vaed. Baruch Shem kevod malchuto leolam vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha v'chol nafshecha uvechol meodecha. Dehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha veshinantam levanecha vedibarta bam veshivtecha vevetecha uvelechtecha vaderech uvshochbecha uvekumecha ukshartam leot ayadecha vehayu letotafot beinenecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai Vitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher hotzeiti etchem meretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
In a moment, we will sing our song of liberation, of redemption, the song we sang after we passed through the sea of reeds and celebrated our freedom. It's a time of immense joy. And so it's interesting, there's a midrash, a commentary, a narrative by the rabbis that says in that moment of joy and celebration, they noticed, kind of off to the side, that there was an elder sitting just weeping. And they went over to this elder and they said, "Why are you weeping?" And it was the divine. And the divine said, "Because the Egyptians are my children too." And so often in the world that we live, we often are celebrating our victories at the expense of another group of people. It's kind of the culture. And I don't know if you've had the opportunity to watch the Olympics over the last number of days, but it's both, it is thrilling and it is heartbreaking. And there's been a whole narrative about many athletes, particularly from Japan, who are winning silver medals and are weeping because they feel like they've really failed their country because they didn't win a gold. I feel like bronze would be awesome. I'd be psyched for bronze. But there is a way in which it's hard if you are not the pure victor in the way society thinks about what victory looks like. And I don't know if people saw these high jumpers. There were two of them. It was the finalists, Mutaz Essa Barshim from Qatar and Gianmarco Tamberi. And they were going to the very end. Did anybody else see this? It was really an extraordinary moment. One of them, his leg had blown out in 2016, so he couldn't compete. And they were, I mean, if you've ever watched, they're like the most amazing humans. They're tall and svelte, and they literally fling themselves over this bar. And they both reached the highest height, and the official came over and said, you're the two finalists. Like, should we raise it? And you can see which one will be the, gold medal, receive the gold medal, the other one the silver. And they said, well, can we both get gold? And the guy said, yeah. And he turned, he said, do you want to do it? And they were like, yeah. And they both just lost it. If people haven't seen it, you should just Google it. It is available. And they were literally weeping. One of them was like in a fetal position on the floor, bawling and laughing and crying. And it was so extraordinary. And they were so joyous for each other. They were so joyous for each other. Exactly. But they're not the only athletes working hard, right? Whoever won the bronze worked hard. All the people who didn't even make it that far, they worked hard. So I just want to invite us in this moment, as we have the Olympics as a model for what it means to strive for excellence. The amount of dedication these athletes put in is so extraordinary. But can we have a sense of victory, of overcoming, of redemption that is not at the cost of another? And so as we sing these words, Micha Mocha on page 40, let us also hold a sense of joy for the Israelites and the freedom, and also the sadness for the Egyptians that were consumed, the Sea of Reeds.
We continue with Hashkivenu. On your supplemental page, that goldenrod page, the goldenrod for the sunset. As we head to sleep this evening, we think about the shelter over us and the peacefulness that this evening and this Shabbat will bring. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom. Leshalom, lehamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 One more time, nice and loud. Amen. 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 Amen.
We invite you to rise of body or spirit for the Amidah on page 46.
Adonai, Sephatai Tiftach, Ufia Tehillatcha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekoneh Hakol, Vezocher Hastei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah, Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Novlim Verofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom, Yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Take just a few moments on your own. You can continue up until page 62, and then you may be seated. If you take out your goldenrod sheets one more time, we're going to bring in that spirit of a pure heart once again. Join with me now that you actually do know it. And we sing together with all open hearts, open minds, and open souls. Create a pure heart in me, Adonai. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Adonai. Create a pure heart in me, renew a true soul, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Adonai. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Adonai. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within.
I had a great meeting with a bar mitzvah student this week. I work with the B'nai Mitzvah students on their mitzvah project, which they do 10 hours of service in some way or another. And I asked him how his Devar Torah was going, where he was in the writing process. He said, this is one of our B'nai Mitzvah students who's moved his date twice. So he said, I wrote it, but I have to rewrite it because what I wrote was a year ago, and I'm a different person. And what's hitting me about the Torah portion is just different now, so it doesn't feel authentic for me to give it. And I was like, that's your Devar Torah. That's the lesson that we're trying all the time. That's why I'm trying to get Anne to write a Devar Torah for Minyan, because I want to know how Anne sees the Torah. I can't look at the Torah like Anne looks at the Torah. And that's true for all of you. We all want you to be teachers of Torah, and including Anne, but all of you. And that is the most powerful moment. We know you go to a bar bat mitzvah. It's amazing to hear them speak the words of Torah when they're reading Torah, Haftarah. But when they're giving over their Devar Torah, it's like magic. It's like they are there 2,800 years ago, opening the Torah and reading it to the people. It's the best. So that particular Kyle, bar mitzvah student, gave me a lot of Torah in that. So I say that to say I keep coming back to this section of Torah for myself. And I don't know if it will speak to you, but it's speaking to me this week. I shared it in the email that went out today. It says, again, here we are. We're in Deuteronomy. Moses is coming to the end of his journey, and he's trying to prepare the Israelites to head off into the promised land without him. And we know the Torah ends on the cusp of entering the promised land, which maybe I think is actually the true metaphor of the Jewish people, is that we're always on the journey. We're never quite in the promised land. And so they are receiving these instructions, these mitzvot, these commandments to guide them when they get into the promised land. So Moses instructs the Israelites. If, however, there is a needy person among you, one of your kinsmen in any of your settlements in the land that Adonai your God is giving you, do not harden your heart. Like Pharaoh, don't harden your heart. Don't shut your hand against your needy kinsmen. Rather, you must open your hand and lend them sufficient for whatever they need. And so we have to remember when the Torah was crafted by humans, divinely inspired, however you hold it, is that they're trying to give instructions for things that they struggle with. And I think most of us still struggle to figure out how do we give to meet the needs of those who are needy. And I think particularly here in Los Angeles, where many of us are in our cars all the time and we stop at corners and people approach us and they have these signs and they come towards our car, and now there's the added stress of COVID where you don't want to get sick, you don't want to get them sick, but you don't want to get sick, and they're wanting money, and we have to make a choice in that moment. Do we look at them? Do we look away from them? Do I check and make sure my door is locked because I'm worried about my safety? Is my window up? Is it down? Do I look the other way? When they start coming towards me, do I roll past them so they don't come towards my car because it doesn't feel comfortable? I think we feel that all the time. And then if you have my son Reuven in the back, he's like, Dad, are you going to give him money? Are you going to give him money? I have like a little Moses in my back giving me my own instructions. So may you all have a little Reuven in your back seat giving you instructions. It is like your kids can really hold you accountable, right? I mean, and that's what we're meant to do. And as I was thinking about that this week, I'm sure many of you have heard about this, that the WHO, the World Health Organization, is begging and pleading with wealthy countries like the United States not to do these booster shots. Don't do the booster shots because even though we're over 50% vaccination rate, there's places like in the Philippines where they're at 7%, and Guatemala, which is at 2%, and Nigeria is at 1% vaccination rate. So they're saying you already have your first go of the vaccination, so don't use those shots. They need them in other places. Those are the needy kinsmen. Those are the needy kinsmen that Moses is talking about. But it's not that easy. There's a reason we don't always stop. There's a reason we don't always roll down our window. There's a reason we don't give money from our wallet. It's usually not because we don't have the money to give. And, you know, as I was listening to this, it was literally like half an hour after I talked to my mom, my beloved mother, Marilyn, who's in Massachusetts, who's 75, who said, I can't wait for them to let us get that extra booster. I'm really nervous. You know, I'm nervous. I don't want to get COVID, and I want her to get the booster. I want all of you, if you want the booster, you should have the booster. I want everybody to feel that sense of safety. And so Moses is instructing the Israelites, you're going to go to this place, you're going to cross into this land of milk and honey. And even in a land of milk and honey, there's going to be people that are needy. And they know this. This is true, all lands. Right? And we know in this country in particular, in this moment, we have incredible inequality. And sometimes people say, Benjamin, why are you talking about something that seems like it's political? Why don't you stay with the Torah, stay with the Spirit, stay with the soul? But I don't know. I don't know how you don't get into how we care for another. This is what the Torah is teaching us. I was once on a call with a group of rabbis, and we were trying to work on a policy thing around ensuring that people had much better education, more funding for education. And the rabbis were trying to figure out, well, what text should we use? And this one rabbi kept saying, I don't know. Like, if we use that text, it seems like we're partisan. We're on this particular side. And he kept saying, no, we can't use that text. It's too political. And I was like, I don't know. Those are 10 texts of the Torah. That's just what the calling is. Our call, wherever you stand, is to be in this public arena. That is our call, and to wrestle with these questions. Do you give at a very local level when someone comes to your car? And how do we make decisions about who deserves to get vaccines and who doesn't get vaccines? This is the work. And the rabbis think about this not just in the political realm, but they certainly think about it also at the spiritual realm. And Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, who died in 1810, a great Hasidic thinker and leader, and a bit of a mystic and wanderer of the universe, he says that when you give charity, extraordinary things occur. He writes, the remarkable power of charity is that it can widen and open the openings more and more. When we make an opening in some devotion and give charity, the charity opens and widens the openings more and more. This is because charity is the beginning of all beginnings, for it opens and widens all the entrances. So there's a way in which when we read the text and it says, do not harden your heart and shut your hand, that when we act in generous ways, And I think it can mean literally when we're giving, but it also can be just how are we compassionate? Compassionate and generous with ourselves. Compassionate and generous with our beloveds. What happens? What are the pathways that open in our hearts when we meet people with love and compassion? Extraordinary things happen in our lives. We certainly know the feeling of a hardened heart. And we certainly know when somebody meets us with an open heart, with an open hand and compassion. So my blessing for all of us this Shabbat is that we carry this agitational mitzvot and try in our own way to figure out how to live this charge that is, I think, as fresh today as it was back in the day. And may it be an opening for pathways for healing of your own soul and the soul of others. Amen. With that invitation to open pathways of the Spirit, to bring healing to ourselves, so needed, and to others, invite you to speak the names of those that are struggling of mind or body or spirit for our Misha Be'ach prayer. If there is somebody that you are thinking of and you'd like to speak their name aloud so that we as a kahal, as a community, can hold them as well, invite you to rise so I can invite you to speak their name. That's amazing. Yes. Thank you. That is beautiful. Rini Perlmutter. And if you're joining us online, I invite you to speak the names aloud as well. We join together for the Misha Berach on page 253.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Beimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Invite you to rise for the Aleinu on the bottom of page 282.
Alenu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet kedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishbechot adama, shelo samchalkenu kahem, vegor alenu kechol hamonam, vanachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר ואדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ושמו אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. As we prepare to recite Kaddish this evening, we especially remember Susan Barron Franklin, Saul Bennett, Jacob Broydad, Daniel Kallner, Nathaniel Davidson, Peter Joseph Echito, David Fett, Louis Frankel, Dr. Edward Firstman, Hal Glucksman, Ira Goldenring, Nancy Robin Gould, Esther Grunfest, Elaine Hoffman, Myers Katz, Paula Mochtinger, Adele Myers, Marty Rausch, Davud Sitare, Gertrude Steyer, David Stein, Benjamin Woolman. If there are others who are on your heart this evening that you are thinking of and remembering, invite you to rise and speak their name aloud.
Željko Marsovich and Bernard Lax.
Invite you to rise for the Kaddish on page 294. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, b'yalma divrach hiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah brichu. Leila min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, dami aran me'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Hosei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Halina via Kol Yisrael, Vimru, Amen. May their names continue to be a blessing in our lives.
Oh, say shalom bimroma. Huya say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'iru amen. Oh, say shalom bimroma. Huya say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'iru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom. Have a sweet stomping Shabbos. May it be,
Shabbat shalom.
may it be a sweet one and a restorative one.